Tonight I'd like to welcome you to the 4th Glendale Model Railroad Club Clinic. Tonight's clinic will be presented by Mr. Ed Sikora, and his clinic will be Weathering with Pastels. Ed Sikora, take it away.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for coming along with us tonight. We're going to talk about some weathering tonight. I'm going to show you some pictures, some slides that I have of the real thing, and then we're going to get on a little bit later to showing you how to actually do the same thing with an HO car. And if time permits, I'll actually do a car right here in front of you. So without further cause, I think what we're going to get to is the slide portion of our show. Okay, I got some slides here. The first one is a boxcar. It's not of a modern prototype. It's quite old, but yet still it's right out of the paint shops. This is the way the railroad puts the car out, puts it on the road. You'll notice when a car is new, the paints are nice and shiny, okay, with the exception of the trucks. Let's take a look at the trucks because that's a part of weathering of the car. Notice they don't paint them shiny black. The trucks are a dull black, especially the old type trucks that we have on here, the old friction bearings. The wheels always had oil and grease dripped on them from the bearings, picked up road dirt. And the final color, as you can see, looking at the second car just a little bit to the right, grimy black is probably the best color if you're going to weather some of your older cars. All right, let's go number 2. Okay, talk about weathering. How far can you go with weathering? Well, there's an example of how far you can go with weathering. You can't really over-weather because here's a car that's somebody over-weathered on the big 12-inch to the foot gauge. Lord knows what it is. It was a white compound of some sort, dumped completely over the whole car, and apparently a little bit of rain helped set it in there, and of course the car is permanently weathered. So if you think you can over-weather, take a look at that car. All right. Here's a model layout, okay, an HO car running down through some of our scenery on the layout. Nobody's going to say no, huh? No. That is a real 12-inch to the foot gauge car. Okay, that is a real Great Northern car. Okay, it's quite old. Had been around some time. Take a look at the weathering on it. Okay, what is the major color in weathering?
Warm.
Warm color. It's a brown. Okay. Lots of brown color in it. Lots of, shades, different shades of brown. Usually for the rust, for the grime, etc. Notice a little technique that the big railroads use in changing some things. They put a little fresh green paint on the door and put a little bit of new information in there. Okay, we're going to go through some various cars here. This is an old Woodside box car, old Great Northern car. This is the most difficult color car to weather on a model railroad because the weathering that you're applying is basically the same color as the car. Probably that's why the railroads painted the cars, because they painted in this color because it hides the basic color of dirt that's actually going to be adhered to the car over many miles of the railroad. Notice that this one's got a good amount of dirt on it, yet the white letters still show through quite readily, with the exception of the Great Northern GN number and the GN letter and the number on the side of the car. Notice they're a little bit lighter in shade, or a little bit, have a little more grime on them. Look at the car next to it, just to the right. Most of the information has been totally obliterated off the car. It's very difficult to tell what kind of car, what railroad it is, especially from this angle. Okay, what other colors can you use? Here's a good example of a Santa Fe 40-foot box car. Again, white. All right, why the white? Probably because the roof of the car might have been painted with a white color of some sort because we know white is heat or sun reflective, keeps the heat off the car. All right, but yet a lot of that stuff dripped down on the side and ran down on the sides of the car. So white is a good color if you want to use it. A couple more cars in service. Pennsylvania car, this isn't about what you find the average weathering on a car would look like. Okay, it's got a good amount of grime. The white letters still show through. It's not overly done. This is the average type of weathering you'll see on the railroad if you look around. The car next to it, the P&LE, a little newer, still has a little bit of shine. If you look off the dreadnought ends, the sun is shining on it. Still has a little bit of shine to it. Hasn't been out on the road too long. Getting into the more modern type cars, there's a PFE reefer and a Santa Fe reefer. Both were probably painted pretty close to a light orange. You can see the comparison of the two. The Santa Fe has a very, very light amount of grime on it. Again, the grime is more of a brown. Black is too harsh. A little bit of brown. Look at the ends of the car, down low on the ends. You notice the collection of brown grime all kicked up by the wheels of the car riding either in front or in back of it. Okay, it's a good place to put some weathering on the car, the ends. Sometimes you can actually see lines on the car where the actual water has been kicked up by the wheels of the previous car. New York Central car, again, some of the lettering shows very brightly. Some of the other lettering, very difficult to read easily. The New York Central Herald tone was totally obliterated. The paint is either washed off or the grime is so badly covering it. The Reading car, a light dusting on the lower area of the car. Okay, you could do this with an airbrush or probably an oil base chalk. We'll go into that later. Your Santa Fe reefer, okay, pretty common way back when 40-foot cars were running around the railroads. This is one of the more modern type with plug door. A little note that you, not really weathering, but something you see on top of the car that you probably never noticed. It's got the SFRD markings on top of the car, right in the middle, and the car number. So if you want to change the car a little bit, there's one way to do it. Again, the orange, it's got a light dusting of grime on it. More heavily towards the bottom of the car. Okay, coal cars. Here's a good example of an old Virginian hopper. You can see that the car is used for carrying coal, and so is the one next to it. The difference being the one next to it is very black and dirty, yet the Virginian car has got a bit of white showing on the car. How would the white get there? Could have been the letters from continuous rain and whatever, and the weathering conditions outside caused the white pigment in the white paints to run a little bit. Or it could have been used at one time for a different type of chemical. But anyway, it's a dark car, yet it does show some white weathering on it. Okay, another one right out of the paint shops there. I do this to show you the contrast between a weathered car and a new car. If you're going to have a new car, there aren't many of them in each train. You'll find a couple. For a publicity photo, yeah, they may have stuck a whole bunch of them in there. But the average, maybe you'll find one or two in a whole train. Shiny. If you're going to make it a new car, make it shiny. Athearn, the average box cars are not shiny. They look like they've been through through weathering conditions. They've been on the road for some time. So, you want a new car, a little gloss, a little glaze to the car, and don't do too many of them in a train. Here's one for our president, a whole carload of Miller High Life beer.
Wrong brand.
Oh, I said it back.
If it's free, he'd drink it.
Notice the white car, really it doesn't have much weathering at all. Most of your model railroad white cars really look funny on the railroad. But I put this one in there to show you that it is prototype, the stick upright white car in there. Look at the roof. Notice the tar on the roof that's used to seal the joints. Okay, so a white car doesn't always have to be totally white. A couple of old refrigerator cars, old armor refrigerator car. You don't see these on the road very much anymore. Again, a new paint job right out of the factory or right out of the paint shops. Okay, quite a bit of shine to the car. The old wood reefer next to it, quite dull and light shades of brown or tan. Gray cars. This one again is quite clean, but a light dusting of brown and a little bit of black chalk will weather this thing down just to the way you see it in the picture there. Red cars, very interesting. Okay, they're fun to play with. You can add some other colors into them easily. The boxcar red is the hardest thing to do because that's the colors we're working with. The red cars, you can add a lot more colors to it, and as far as weathering is concerned. Notice the ends of the car, originally black, they appear to be almost a tan in color as far as reflected light is concerned. Notice the roofs of the car. All right, you got anywhere from a shade of brown covering the entire car to a light shade of brown to almost an orange. Car we haven't seen around, an old Burlington Express reefer. Athearn made a number of these, of course, a shorter version. Again, to show you the average car, it's a green car, but it has a light dusting of weathering, nothing very heavy. Another green car, Main Central, a little bit darker, a little heavier on the weathering. I want you to look at each car and see what the differences are from one to the other. Notice again, not too heavy. All right, something that goes along with weathering, graffiti and writing on the cars. To the left side of the car, next to the capacity, you see some letters written in there. Over at the right side at the reflective cross down by the door, something else written there in chalks. They usually use an oil-based chalk, so it stays on there. And of course somebody with their little jokes over there, Santa Fe Stagecoach Lines, Shotgun Slade Manager. You can do things like this on the side of the car, definitely to make them look like they're used. And the ultimate weathered car, the one that has come back from the wreck. Okay, that's the tank car I'm talking about inside of your gondola. So if you want to go through the extremes, there it is. Let's go back to trucks again. This is a pretty good shot. Of course, they didn't stop it in time, but this is a pretty good shot. I believe an old Andrews truck. Notice the light color on that truck. All right, it has picked up a lot of road grime and dust and dirt and all. But then again, take a real close look at the journal boxes. You can see where the oil is leaked out, and it's a much darker color. You can see where the wheels, the inside face of that wheel there, is starting to show grime and it's got dust on it. This car probably has not run a lot on the main road at this time. It's probably been sitting around someplace. What happens is all that dripping grease that drips out of the journal boxes is wet on there, and the dust and dirt that just blows around, okay, just from the wind blowing it, will adhere and get stuck in that dust, in the grease that drips. So a car looking like this, where you can still see a light tan color, a lot of dust, and very little grease showing, has probably been sitting a long time. Take note when you go out to Paris next time, you'll look at some of the 40-foot boxcars they have out there with the same kind of journals and all. You'll notice they're a very, very light tan because of the dust that blows out there. PFE car for you. This is a 40-foot
Yellow.
refrigerator car, also a plug door. Noticed also a light weathering on the car.
About an hour.
How would PFE ship it right out of the shops? That's what the car would look like. Notice the orange is bright. Again, shiny paint. If you want a new car, make it look shiny. Up on top, the roof of the car. Give you an idea what, you're always wondering what the roofs look like. Are they supposed to be black like Athearn makes them? No, they coat them with a light reflective chemical. Light colors, white colors, all reflect the sun. Okay, you want this car to stay cold. You don't want it to get hot inside. The sun beating down on it will make it hot, so they coat it or paint it over with some kind of white coating. Or sometimes they even use just the plain galvanized metal and leave it alone, because it's a better reflector than any dark color. Here's a modern day wood train running on the SP. Notice the Georgia Pacific car in the center with all the different ribs and ridges in it. And notice the little bit of touch up with fresh blue paint. Yes, look at also the grime that's collected on all the ribs of the car. Taken for granted that that's a blue car. Blue right out of the box from Athearn looks horrible. It just doesn't look right. But you put enough grime on it and dirt and it really looks good. Again, look at the roof of the car. It's almost the same color in this slide as those cotton belt box cars, which are right behind the car itself. What I'm trying to show you here is large white letters on the NP, the Northern Pacific car. Notice after a period of time, again, the color the brown color that colors them and starts to fade them out, make them look faded. That is the grime that collects on the road. For you cement hopper fans, Santa Fe cement hopper, again, it's not overly weathered, but there's quite a bit on there. You can take liberties with the amount that you put on each car. If you're running a string of them they can look boxcar red, or they can almost be white. Looking at the next car to the right, you can see it's considerably a heavier amount of cement dripping down the sides of the car. A sampling of boxcar red, or what we call boxcar red, Tuscan red, however the railroad wants to call it. Two to at least almost 3 shades of the color from the different railroads. Notice the colors of rust and grime that accumulate on the car. Again, black should be used at a minimum. Don't get carried away with black chalk. It covers very heavily and really looks harsh. What the primary color you're looking for is almost the same color as a boxcar red. Something else you can do, the big railroads do it, they change the door every once in a while. Consequently, the car is considerably weathered. Used to be a Rock Island car, it's now a Chicago Northwestern, so they put some fresh paint before they put the new letters on there. And they put a new door on the side of the car. And it's got a nice fresh coat of paint compared to the rest of the car. Santa Fe likes to use a bright red when they paint their box cars. Notice this particular car is entirely red. The ends are red, the roof is red, which probably means that the car has been repainted at some time. It has probably been out on the road for a number of years. The weathering at this point is very, very light. Here's my best slide of what I call a good example of weathering. Okay, it's taken in Sacramento WP yards. The WP shows a correct color of what the type of grime that actually accumulates on the car. Look in the WP letters. The UP car, once a bright yellow, look at it now. Very, very subdued. GMO, what can you say about GMO? It was a green car. It is now very faded in color. The blue car, again, the plastic ones right out of the box look horrible, but you can make them look like this blue car that's sitting right there. Just a good cross sampling of weathering. Trucks on most of your modern cars really are a brown color. They brown to orange to any shade of rust that you can think of. Very, very rarely do you find a modern car that's got black trucks on it. Almost non-existent, unless, of course, I have seen some tank cars fresh out of the shops, the paint shops. They manage to overspray the trucks also, so the trucks do look a little black. But the number of cars you see with black trucks or shiny black trucks, very minimal. That'll do for the slides right now, and we'll go on to the rest of the clinic in just a second. Okay, here we go. We'll get back to the basics of weathering model railroad cars. What do I use? This is a box of chalks when they're brand spanking new, and you can see that I've made quite a mess out of mine. The colors I use are basically the dark colors. Why? For some reason, the lighter colors, especially in this type of chalk, you can put them on heavy and they totally disappear as soon as you hit them with the dull coat. I use the dull coat spray to seal the colors on there. After I get the color that I want, or the degree of weathering that I want, the dull coat spray seems to do a good job of sealing it and keeping it on there. Ordinary chalks will wash off, or from handling will come off the car. So you got to seal it on there some way. I'm going to go through some cars real quick like. Boxcar red, Tuscan red, whatever you want to call it. A couple of various degrees in weathering. Notice the cars are just pretty much the same color. A little bit of variation in the brown of the car. The place that weathering is most noticeable is in the yellow lettering and the white lettering. And you can put various degrees on there and still be correct. Remember, the trucks are an important part of the car. They're seen just as much as the rest of the car. I use paints to weather my trucks. I use a combination of Focal Rust and probably Boxcar Red, or Rail Brown and Boxcar Red. Rail Brown is almost a rust color. It's a little darker than rust itself. But I use that and I mix them together at various degrees because they're not all the same. I like to do it by hand, although you can mass produce these with an airbrush if you want to. If you don't want to go through the trouble, you can take all the wheel sets out and set them, rubber band them between a couple pieces of wood, small sticks of wood, and spray the whole thing real fast if you want to do it that way. But this is the most difficult car. We'll do one of these in a little while. But okay, let's notice this is an old timer. Notice the old timer. The frames of the trucks are somewhat brown. Could be tan like you saw them. I use a grimy black for the wheels. The inside face of the wheel is a grimy black color. Remember the Georgia Pacific car? This is the closest thing I have to it in my collection. It's a Boise Cascade car. But you notice the way the weathering gets heavier in the ridges of the car. Okay, some places it does show a little bit lighter. If you remember that Georgia Pacific car, there was no constant shade of color on it. Same thing here. Black cars. Okay, what do you do to a black car? First of all, the underframes of the car, the coupler pockets, the coupler, except the face. We want the face to operate smoothly, but the coupler, a rust color, some shade of rust. Focal's rust right out of the bottle is a little bit too bright. That's basically rusty rail, or rail what it looks like after it has just rained and sat for about an hour or so. The black car itself, again, a light dusting of brown grime. The color I use most, right there. It's almost the same color as a boxcar red. Here's your orange cars. We'll talk about the PFEs. This particular one I like, the Galveston Wharfs. Probably has a little bit more than I would like to put on it. It's got the galvanized roof, or at least what they tried to make appear like the galvanized roof. I like to dull it down using a little bit of brown, a little bit of black chalk on top. But orange cars, they look real good. They don't look overly bright when, after you've weathered them up. They look more prototype. The PFE cars, two different grades of weathering. Okay, you can go a little lighter on one, a little darker on the other. Something that's very common when you see the real PFE cars, and I didn't show it well here at all, is the actual ribs themselves are considerably lighter in color. This shows it on the roof a lot better. Okay, the actual ribs are lighter in color. I can't explain why, but they are. They're considerably lighter. I obtained that by weathering the entire car and then coming back over the ribs and just lightly scraping them with a razor blade. Okay, so you scrape the weathering off the ribs and you wind up with the original paint. You don't want to take the original paint off. Here's a white car and another. Two various degrees of weathering. The white car shows up the brown and the brown grime the most. Okay? This one, almost no weathering at all. Still has a little bit of shine to it. Okay? That represents that the car has come out of the paint shops recently. Yellow cars, they don't look good when they're bright unless they're shiny. Again, yellow shows the grime very easily, so you can take it down in steps a little bit at a time. Great Northern Blue, another car that looks funny right out of the box, but you put a little bit of grime on it, a little bit of weathering. Okay, I try to simulate that something was spilled over at the car. Maybe the car was used for carrying some kind of chalky chemical compound. A lot of times box cars are used for carrying chalky chemical compounds or grain or anything like that. The door is sealed except for the very top, and they put what they call a removable grain door or some kind in the inside. Okay, and then they fill it through the very top and slide the steel door closed. Okay, so you can find chalks or whatever they put carried into the car dripping down the sides of the car. UP yellow. There's a couple of different shades of UP yellow because basically the paint was the same color. The cars themselves, different grades of weathering. This particular car, which I didn't do, was done by one of our young members, Brent Sable, is what I think is one of the finest jobs of weathering done on a model. He did a beautiful job on this thing. He has just a light dusting of weathering over the whole car. This is probably what your normal car looks like. Okay, your average car. I also used some chalks in a slightly different way. You can see the car is considerably weathered. Looks like a gondola has been beat around, that's been beat around the railroad. I used some chooch loads. Okay, they're very bright. There's quite a bit of oranges in them when you get them. Now I simulated a bunch of sheet metal here, a bunch of metal that had been in a junk pile for a long time, probably the bottom of the pile that never gets moved. All the paint had been beaten off them. Okay, lots of rust showing, lots of grime and grease and everything else. You go in an auto junkyard, you'll find at the bottom of the pile, you got stuff like this. Somebody mentioned to me a little while ago, well, some of your scrap metal should have bright colors on it. Sure. If it's new stuff, if there are some pieces that have been recently dumped in there and they don't get a chance to sit around the scrapyard for any period of time, there should be some brighter colors than this. I particularly wanted to simulate something that had been left in a junkyard for some time. Here's the red cars. Okay, a couple of different degrees of grime on the car. Here I tried to use some black. Okay, you see how readily visible it is. I don't like it myself. It's a little bit too heavy. It didn't do what I want it to do. The other side has less black. Okay, it looks a lot more realistic. A small 40-foot red car. A little bit of black, a little bit of brown mixed together. Some black and brown mixed together in the ribs of the roof. The green car, another favorite of mine. Basically grime, a little bit black and brown chalk up on the roof. I cheated on this one. There's a light dusting of mud done by an airbrush on the lower section of the car. But a combination of the light dusting, okay, which I did a long time ago, and it looks good when you first do it, you know, your first attempt, but then you want something a little bit better. So afterwards I added the chalk on top of this, and I got what I really enjoy on the car, the finish that I really like. Okay, let's take one of these cars, and if we got some time here, we'll play around a little bit and see how this actually works. My basic tool is a very hard brush, very stiff brush, cut very short. And you can see the amount of chalk that's still in the brush. Okay, what I like to do is I like to work the chalk until I've got a considerable amount of dust. Now, I'm applying this to the sides of the car. Now you're going to say, how's that chalk going to stick to the car? But it manages to find the crevices, the cracks. Doing this kind of fast too, so that you get a better idea. Now, you want to make sure that you get every place. Some of the places I forget is right up on the top here. You know, when you get the whole car done and you look at it, you've forgotten this little ridge that runs right across the top. So make sure you look at it good, or put your glasses on if you're over 40. You know, and you need to see that, but it's hard to get at places. Do it in good light like we have here today. Makes it easier to see. Now, there's a considerable amount on there. Notice just by brushing some of it off, I can lighten and get the desired effect. The white letters, a little friend of mine over here wants to get in the act. The white letters themselves are not dark enough for what I want them to look like. So I'll concentrate a little more color. Now, take most of it off. You get what you think you want. Time to get the dull coat out. I got these safety catches on here. Doesn't take much, and dull coat dries very fast. I have my hair, when I'm spraying it with dull coat, I have my hair dryer right close by, and I'll have to do it in my own hot air tonight. But you can see pretty fast the difference in the color of the car. We'll play a little bit with the boxcar red. This is one of my favorite cars, and I'm going to do it carefully. Now, you can add a little black in there. But you see how quickly what happens to the black? If you're going to do it, see how much it changes? Now, is that the color you want? The colors, when you spray them, you're going to lose some color. In fact, I'll show you what happens with the lighter colors and why I don't use them. Only where you have large amounts of yellow chalk, or light chalk, do you see it actually sticking. It's really hard to get it to stay and to make any difference in the car. The grime, you can see, is left with just an even cover. The black, you can see how prominent it is when it's done. Got some color in the picture there. Okay, the red cars, again, right out of the box. It's too new looking, but it doesn't have the shine that it's supposed to. So we got to do something to dull this baby down. Now, something that I like to do, I'll point out before I get into weathering this car. Athearn, some of the other model manufacturers, when they make a car like this, have a nasty habit of their machines that actually put the indicia or the information on the side of the car, leave big holes. What I like to do is take, if it's a white letter, I like to take some white paint and very carefully touch up wherever they haven't applied the paint to. All right? The Great Northern emblem on this was horrible, but a little white paint over it. You don't have to be careful with the color matching exactly. Once you finally weather it, you can't see where you've added the white paint, but yet it looks a lot better. Okay? Yes, railroads do have a little bit of spray and a little bit of problem with their masks that they do use, and they don't catch every place, but usually the places that they miss are small. Okay, not large gaping holes like the model manufacturers make. So if you see a car in the store and you're a little upset about it, but it's the car you want, don't be afraid. Take a little bit of paint and redo it. If it's black, like the black Sioux letters here, just a black marking pen. An indelible marking pen is great. You got the small, you can buy them with a very fine point. Once you weather over them, you'll never see the difference in colors of the black that they put on and the black that you've put on. But yet, the car looks a lot better. Okay, let's put some brown on this baby. Now this usually takes me a lot longer when I'm doing it by myself because I like to just very slowly put the color on and keep looking at it and see if what I want. I got a little bit of orange here. A little bit of black around the bottom. It doesn't take much of this dull coat. A couple of few passes. As soon as it seems wet, as soon as you see it looking like it's totally wet, stop right there. You don't need any more. Notice we've lost the heavy look that I first put on there. It looked quite considerably heavier than before I sprayed it. A lot of it got lost. The nice thing about dull coat is once you put it on there, you can always go back and add a little more color in there. Okay, it's up to you whether you like what you've got there. Okay, do it in steps, take it a little bit at a time. Okay, build up with it. Put on just a little bit at a time. Okay, this way you won't over. You can't really take it off once you've done it. Okay, this dull coat doesn't wash off as easy. If you're starting to work with it before you get all your color on it, it looks a little dark, you can always dust it back off. Okay, you can really work this chalk in, and I'll give you an example on the other side here. Now let's take some of the pile of dust I have on the bottom. There's a considerable amount on there, on that car, but you can take some of it off. A little bit of water or something like that, and that'll take it back off again. Or you can take the car under soap and water and wash the whole thing off if you think you've gotten too much. The best thing I can tell you is play with them, okay? Little by little until you get really what you want. But don't forget to go out and look at the real ones. Look closely at them. All right? Again, I say, the trucks. You very rarely find a modern car with black trucks on it. This is the thing that sets your car off from everybody else's. That you finished the rest of the car. You've done a beautiful weathering job on the top, and you got this pair of shiny Central Valleys on there, or shiny Athearn trucks on the bottom of the car, and it just doesn't look finished anymore. It looks like it's been right out of the box. Central Valleys, beautiful trucks. All right, why? Because they simulate the bright, shiny wheels that you see on the real ones. But the sides of the wheels should never be shiny. Okay, just the running surface. So take a little time, pop the wheel sets out, or do it carefully with the wheel sets in, and coat the inside of that. One car at a time. Take your time and do it, and you'll find out that you'll have a train when you're finished that you really appreciate. If there's any questions, I'll take them at this time. Everybody's got it down pat. All right, I thank you guys for coming with me. Oh, I forgot one thing. Let's take this diesel over here. I hate to keep going back, but here's where your black chalk works real well. Of course, your steam generator exhaust pipe and your exhaust from your engine would be considerably darker. But you can see how your grills and how the fans on top of the car get considerably darker as you keep putting the black chalk in there. Only takes a few seconds. Once it's dry, you got pretty much the effect that you want. It doesn't look like it's out of the box. Okay, people thought you'd done a lot of work on this thing, weathering it, yet it doesn't look like it's out of the box. No questions? I want to thank you all for coming here tonight and enjoying my clinic on weathering with chalks.
Let's give Ed a big hand.